Okay, been moved by Amanda, second by Cale. All in favor? Okay, approved. Consent agenda. We need permission for clerks to pay insurance at time of billing, to pay utilities at time of billing, to pay utility incentive before the 25th of the month, to pay theater bills when due, and to pay payment service network bills when due.
So moved.
Moved by Larry.
Second.
Second by Amanda. All in favor? Approved. Okay. Cody.
I gave a very lengthy report to you guys. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to look it over. I also had a discussion with Lauren about district court, municipal court. I think we're on the same page. I just think we need to make sure we continue to communicate so that we are on the same page of what we want, how we want to do these things, and how we want to go through municipal court and district court. The other thing is I feel that there's a real deficiency in the way our computer extracts information and gives it to you. It's very lacking, in my opinion. If you look at what's gone through district court, and you look at the call log, which I also supplied to you guys, and then you look at that monthly log I give you guys, it's just so generic and so basic that I don't think you guys are getting a picture of what we're really doing. I'm working trying to figure out a way to, anytime you're asking a computer to do something, it's up to the person who's asking it to get it to work right. I'm trying to figure out a better way to give you guys a better picture of what we do. One of the ways I think I'm going to do it is we're getting ready to put a new second generation of computers in our car. Our old ones were iPads. Most of them get busted up, ruined. They've been in our vehicles for 6 years. So some of that spark money we got for the COVID stuff was to get computers in the vehicles. We're getting close to getting that project done. We're shopping for a contractor or a contract for the Cradle Points for the internet. We're going to create a digital log so the officer themselves keeps track of what they're doing. Because one of the things that's missing in that dispatch log, if an officer sees something and he stops, say he just stops Cale in the middle of the street and says, "Hey, Cale, can't park like that, man. Can you move it?" "Yeah, sure, no problem." There is no documentation, no record. There's nothing that exists over that interaction. If we have the officers do a log where they reach over and parking warning, just click the button or something like that, it'll start giving us a more accurate log of what an officer is doing during the day. We also trying to figure this out when Lila first asked me about it, and I talked to Amanda and stuff. Also found out there's a lot of traffic stuff that goes on. I talked to deputies like, okay, what about this, what about that? Of course, being a small town, they pull people over often and don't document it through dispatch because they're just pulling over, Amanda, and they're just going to tell her, hey, you need to stop at that stop sign, and there is no documentation. And I told them they need to either, I think the log will help cure that, but I was like, you guys need to run everything through dispatch because we are responsible for providing the citizens, whether it's a county citizen, a St. Francis citizen, Bird City, somebody with a record of what we're doing and how we're doing it. So I think, the quickest, easiest solution is having them do an officer daily log, and then make that form in a way that we could extract that information and split it into the categories that we already have set up, instead of relying on dispatch, because dispatch, as we noticed, like with the DIN inspections and stuff, they have to put a location in. As soon as they put in that location, 212 East Washington, which is the courthouse, it's, boom, it puts it underneath the St. Francis PD stat list, even though it could be somebody from Bird City getting a DIN inspection. Prisoner transport, it could be somebody we arrested for a crime in the county, or a DUI on 36, or somebody we arrested in Bird City, but because court's in St. Francis, boom, it puts it down as a St. Francis statistic because the address of the prisoner transport was 212 East Washington. So I think it's going to be more accurate to have the deputies have a quote-unquote rolling log as they go through. I think that would give you guys the data that you guys want, and then I think getting that information, getting the stuff from the court is easy. You just go on to eFlex, you can get it. It's not that hard. I could supply you guys, on a regular basis with the court log as well. I'm not quite sure what Lila's using for her court log.
I don't know. It's not
it's not e-file for
Because
municipal
I can't
court.
get on, I'd have to go to her to get that.
I have to go to
information.
her to get the information too. Like, so when I send something to be served,
Mhm.
I send it for the judge's signature on the summons. So I get the petition, I have whoever has it
Mhm.
sign it, give it to Lila along with an unsigned summons. She takes it over to the judge, gets it signed, brings it back, file stamps it, takes it to the sheriff's office, has you serve it, and then when the return of service comes in, she sends me everything. So I actually don't have the file
Mhm.
until...
Yeah, and that creates quite a lag when you're trying to, like today when we serve that paper,
Mhm.
so, we had the return and then, everything was like, okay, where is this going? Because we're not e-filing it. I was in the office and afterwards I was like, did you make a copy of that return before you gave it to somebody? No. Maybe you should, just so we can keep a record.
Okay, Janet said they were making a copy
Did they?
up
Okay.
there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm glad somebody's working.
So, and I actually have it with me in my folder, so if you
Okay.
need a copy of
No,
it.
if they've made a copy, I'm fine.
Okay.
I asked.
Would you
I
double
asked-
check, and if not, I'll have
Yeah.
Janet do it, and I'll send it
Yeah.
over via email tomorrow morning.
I asked the deputy, but I bet Janelle made a copy.
Okay.
So that,
Because I think they tried to give Janet a copy, and Janet said, no, we get the original.
Yes.
No, because the Florida has to take it to court.
The court always gets
Yeah.
the original, and that's hard to get through something.
Right, and that was a preliminary one. That was not that's not going to get filed unless I have to use that as evidence. They didn't rectify the situation timely.
Yeah. So, before I move on to the next part, does anybody have any questions over what the information I supplied you guys? Sure. The next part, I guess, is a little bit of a self-evaluation on myself, and by myself, I mean the sheriff's office. I think over the course of the last year or so, that first part was really hard to gauge because of COVID. And now, COVID's basically over. We're moving into what would be normal operations. And I found that we are in one of the slowest periods. In the 14 years I've worked for the Cheyenne County Sheriff's Office, and I'm going to jinx myself by saying this in a public meeting, but this is one of the slowest periods of time. We have the least amount of people in jail. We have the least number of cases out there reported to the Sheriff's Office. We're way behind on our normal cases. As a police administrator, I see that as a good thing because it means crime is low and everything is good. And I think this is a perfect time, as I'm self-critiquing, that we can take the time and do the things that we promised the city would do, like on the city ordinances, the vehicles sitting alongside the road, and stuff that was always like, okay, I'm trying to work on this child need a care case and this and this. I've been telling the guys we need to start cracking down and working on that stuff. And sometimes I think that we find ourselves in a small town, we get a little, I don't want to say too nice is the word, but we do get a little nice with some of these people. And I think it's time that we start following up, hey, this is the third time I've been to your house, you get a ticket. I think we've been a little too kid-gloved with some of these ordinance violations in the past. And I'm not talking about the one specific one that we surveyed. The other ones, there's some other ones that we have been, because, what I'm finding out is the history is you go tell them, we'll use the vehicle alongside the street that hasn't moved for everything. You tell them, they might move it. 2 months later, it hasn't moved again, so you go tell them, they move it. Their dog's out, hey, here's your one warning, get your dog in, to try to give her, everybody's dog gets out every once in a while, so we get one. Well, you go 3 months later, their dog's back out again. It seems to be a cycle, and I think that I'm prepared to get complaints over it, but I think it's time that we start maybe enforcing these with a little bit more action with the tickets on the city ordinances to the city court. Because I'm seeing that we're having repeat violations of the ordinance by the same people. They may comply that day when we go talk to them, but a month later, they're out of compliance again. That's kind of self-evaluation of the way I'm seeing things working is, if I have to be critical of myself, I think that we have been too soft-handed in our approach on certain things, and it's obviously not working out. We're not getting the enforcement level we need. The last and final thing I have talked about is, I think it's spread everywhere. I don't know if they are shorthanded, but everybody's shorthanded. It seems like trying to get people hired, whether in the restaurant business, law enforcement, where we've been short at least one full-time since we've taken over the contract. Hopefully we can get that solved. I'm going to be meeting with the commissioners this week at budget hearing, and I'm going to be asking for not a large raise, but a raise in our pay scale. Hoping that would help attract qualified help. So that's something that in the future, we're going to be trying to do. Right now we're about $1.50 to $2 an hour less starting out than the agencies we're competing against. The same hiring pool. I know at one point, several months ago, I was just talking to some other law enforcement administrators. There was 4 law enforcement officer jobs available in our district, and there was only 2 applicants for all 4 jobs. That's spread through multiple counties and everything. So we have to face the fact it's not a popular occupation. It's not just the pay, it's just not a popular occupation right now. But I think we're working on trying to get some competitive pay to help get our numbers up. It's kind of frustrating sometimes to be, the only time that we were fully staffed to what we were budgeted for was that short amount of time that Parker Wells and Jeff Myers was in the academy. Then right when they graduated, Gunner left to take a job that paid $5 an hour more, and then we were short again. So I'm really interested to see how this would work, because my dream and my vision was always to have on 2 at night, 1 taking care of the county and 1 staying in town. And right now we have 1 on at night who's taking care of the whole county, including the city of St. Francis. And I'd like to get to the point where we're having an officer who's in St. You have 1 in St. during the day, but during the night hours when you get to midnight, 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd like to have to the point that we're having an officer out at this time dedicated only to the city limits of St. Francis. And like I said, it's been a little frustrating not being able to realize that vision in the last year, but hopefully we get to that point. Do you guys have any questions for me? Any questions?
Anything that's on the city side, you talk about kind of what works for you, what works for us, what can you do to improve? Is there anything on the city side that we can improve on?
I guess if I had to say improvement would be, I don't know what you can do about it. You talk to some people and you warn them or you ticket them against the city ordinance, and they're like, I had no idea. I'm like, well, the city ordinance is around for you to read. I don't know if there's some way we can educate people more on city ordinances or not, because some people just seem generally surprised when you're like, you can't do that. You can't have this many dogs. You can't do this, you can't do that. They look at you like, it says who? Where?
Is that, are those the people that moved into this town, that think that they moved into a small town, they can do whatever?
Yeah.
That we don't have ordinances.
Yeah.
And, I don't know how we get them educated, but then, like you say, a lot of them are repeat offenders all the
How
time.
do you handle something like
We usually give them a warning, let them know, and I usually instruct them. I doubt any of them actually show up to City Hall, but I tell them they can go to City Hall and look at the city ordinance.
It's online. I emailed a link out tonight for what I'm going to be talking about. I mean, when I never pull my code book. I've got one of those giant binders in my office.
You go online?
Yeah.
So is there anything that's more prevalent than others? Because we could maybe start including a little bit more information in our packet, like that I hand out with other
And one
things.
of them has nothing to do with residents, but the dog, the animal stuff. See, I'm like, come on, guys. Every town, no matter how small, big, has an ordinance for animals. The other one is the truck route thing. That seems to be, of course, you're dealing with transient truckers. This guy just might be the only load he's ever taken to St. Francis in his whole career. He may never be back. So that's, I don't know. Again, I don't have the answer how to educate people on that, but
I can always send, any notices out on the city bills. I know, sometimes we have, extra staffers in there. Even just a reminder, hey, it's time to get the dog tags,
I do that.
Or, here's our ordinance, or,
So something I could do, because I do think in our little brochure I hand out, we do talk about like dog tags. So maybe I need to expand that a little bit, maybe have a page on tagging dogs, and then just a little like you can have 3 dogs or 3 cats or a combination of 5. I mean,
including the link, which you probably already have in there to the city ordinance. directing them to that, saying, hey, you might want to check out our city ordinances, so it's not a surprise if something comes up.
Okay.
I even think with golf carts and that kind of stuff, because I moved here from,
Well, they see somebody else
oh,
they see somebody else bust down the street on the golf cart, so they just assume, hey, golf cart's completely legal, and they never ask, am I supposed to have a tag, or what's the tagging process?
insurance tag, what streets you can be on, what you can't be on, I think it's a good.
They just see their neighbor pull out of their driveway with a golf cart kicking down the street, so they're assuming, no, it's perfectly fine, perfectly legal. But other than that, I think it's working well. Like I said, admittedly, it's taken more time than I thought it would, but it probably just feels that way because we've been short-staffed the whole time, so that's why it feels like it's taking more time.
And COVID.
And COVID was weird. That was a weird year to try to start something new during. But I think every issue I've had, I think we found a solution with communication and everything else. So I guess that's my big thing is you guys are good at communicating. I want to make sure we keep communicating what's going on.
The issue on North Quincy, is that what you guys were discussing or no?
The thing that was served today? Yes.
Okay. That's all.
Does anybody have any other questions for Cody? Okay, well, hopefully they'll start going in the other direction, and for people to know the ordinance, that's going to be a tough one.
It is, so it's
And maybe keep putting it out there, whether or not it's something once a month in the newspaper, and there's the city ordinance or on the website, or, keep updating little tidbits here.
You do the Facebook Live once a month where you talk about the new or a different ordinance every month.
Did Cody just volunteer? Did Cody just volunteer?
I think he did. I think he did.
We could do like a Q&A once a month.
Yeah.
No, I mean, but I think I can figure some stuff out in our handout maybe that isn't like total legally wording for them, but like that maybe would clarify a little bit. So.
And I think some social media or in the newspaper of, hey, here's a little city tidbit for the month of trash truck comes on Tuesdays, or,
Yep.
here's the limit for dogs, here's this or that, or whatever. We can do a little tidbit here and there just
Yep.
to keep people
And I
informed.
Put a little blurb.
Rules of ordinances.
And just a little highlight.
The most common warnings you have to give out, and put that out, like the golf cart thing, and
I can tell you is cars left in the street and not moving for a while, and dogs. That's the two most common warnings that we deal with. So.
Dogs, how many? Dogs off leash?
Just period. Dogs on the loose, dogs without
Dogs barking.
tags, dogs barking, dogs, just dogs, period.
Aww.
I love dogs, but they're like, yeah. You see that? I get a running thing with the cat on my phone that texts me like right now, telling me I'm in a meeting. But I'll see an animal call St. Francis, and I'm like, I guarantee it's not a cat. It's a dog. There once was a cow that's wandered into town, but it's most likely a dog call of some sort. You guys have anything else for me? Or?
Good? Okay, good.
thanks, everybody.
Dismissed, or do you need to say anything else?
Okay, do I hear a motion to accept and file the sheriff's report?
So,
Moved by Cale, second by Darrell, all in favor? Thank you, Cody.
Thank you, guys.
Ellen?
Several years ago, and this was probably within the last 10 years, the legislature enacted the Rural Opportunity Zone, better known as ROZ. And what they did was offer $15,000 to student loan forgiveness for someone moving from a metropolitan area to designated areas in Kansas. And at that time, they were the counties that were losing population like Cheyenne County. And at that time, the county commissioners agreed to pay $15,000 a year, or $1,500 per student per graduate, matched by the state of Kansas for the loan forgiveness. So over a 5-year period, they received $15,000. The other part of the program was someone moving to these areas from out of state would not have to pay state income tax for 5 years. Senate Bill 47 was signed by the legislature to extend that program for another 2 years. But at this time, they also included the counties, cities, employers, and foundations if they wanted to go into this program. So if a foundation wanted to pay for the student loan forgiveness, that they would have the ability to do that. I know that the hospital has used this program before to get employees. I can't tell you how many people have used the waiver of the income tax because of the Privacy Act. But there is a form that needs to be signed, a resolution, if someone wants to do that. No entity can do it if the county commissioners don't sign off on it, and I'm talking to them tomorrow. And I think they have signed off in the past year, so they will do that. However, they will not be participating financially at this time. But I just wanted you to know that that is something that's coming up, and the resolution has to be into the state legislature. So I don't know if it's something that the city would want to participate in. There is a waiting list of people that have student loans that have been approved by the state, and that remains at this time. And every year before it's been okay for them to receive the funding, I have to go and make sure that those people still live in the county. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. If they don't live in the county, they're not eligible. So this is a sample ordinance. I think that she may have sent this to Lila, but here's just a sample of the ordinance, and I'll get back with you and let you know what the county does. But I just wanted you to know that it was available should you want to do that. And this comes up once a year, so if you didn't do anything this year, you wanted to consider it next year, you could.
And that's somebody new moving in.
That would be somebody new moving in. However, they have now extended it to any cities or counties with a population of 40,000. Which is most of Kansas except for Wichita, Kansas City, your larger cities.
I think it's 5 counties that are exempt.
Yeah.
No.
And that has to be in by
By June 30th.
June 30th.
So we could wait and see what the commissioners decide.
See what the commissioners do. I don't know if it'd be,
I think the commissioners will sign so that other entities can do it. I don't think they will participate financially this year, but I could be wrong.
well, that'd probably be the total of everybody financially without having it in the budget.
But it does come up every year, so consider it.
Okay, thank you. Elmer, are you here for some reason tonight? You just came?
Didn't want to come in. This is way off. We're having power. I keep wondering, in our town, do we want to have trees? It'd be nice if we got that power box in one of those spots. Just me thinking that.
We've got a committee on that.
I know.
I came into the city before I was city attorney 2-3 years ago. I came in and said I'd really like a flower pot outside my office, and so my office paid for it, puts flowers in it every year, we maintain it, and I just thought it would look, it's nothing to do with the city, I just got permission to leave it on the seat.
I don't know. I keep getting some I come down. Down, there's some like that. People here before on trash containers. This is just something we can have trash containers, encouraging people to pick up their trash and put it in. I don't know how we deal with that. Maybe not missing, not seeing them all. I think there's something else in that. I never got in. Trying to work the lines for them. We talked a little bit about it. Maybe get a grant for people to pick up trash and put it in the trash container.
especially the trash situation has got 100% better. Since Bill Duncan really, he put the pressure on, and it has looked a lot better. There's more people paying attention now.
I have had comments about getting more trash acceptable on these. And it's something to look into, for sure.
I hear this wrong, what Evan's talking about. I don't know what goes on this, and how I think our community against the newspaper, was to get more information in the newspaper. I know that people read it. I understand over 30% of people come to get the newspaper. And they've got the newspaper and social media, everything you get to try to inform people, even them, leaders, how we educate ourselves to do what needs to be done.
Pam, are you here for every to just come?
Just check you guys out.
Okay. Thank you.
What's your name?
I'm Bernadette McLaughlin. I live from Colorado. I had a place here on Whittier for 11 years. So I'm not Colorado and not one of those. I was seasonal here.
There's something else there. I'm concerned we've got to walk them back. There's some that are off and down and putting them together. And I keep running on the people. Look, I see 2 houses got sold on where I was street today. And I had talked to one time meeting and said, did you get a welcome packet? And he said, no. Did you go to give the city office? He didn't go to the city office. He filed through internet. And he didn't come. So I don't know how we, I think it's something how we look at it, how we welcome people to the community and what we need in that packet. How do we get out the Methodist Church? I heard one of the Methodist members mention that on the one site we did a lot of work on that Jesus. And how do we get it out to the people of the world? A lot of people ask them about it, you get a welcome back and how they didn't know anything about it. So I don't know how we, it's another one of those catch-22 situations where it's hard to keep track of people and how to make them welcome and find out.
I always figured the best place is right here, but if they're not coming in here, how do you hand them out? So
I don't know how frequent that is, but I want to say they did it all online, they never came to the city office. So I don't know.
What house was it?
I'm sorry?
Which house did they move into?
Some people bought Wolf, the Wolf House, their pets. Their name was Vicky and Wayne Pets. He still works online while they did work. They're living here where what's called Susan and Bruce and Sue Wolf House. I asked him one thing, did you get a welcome packet? Well, they're all online, we didn't even look to see. So I don't know how that all works.
Well, we don't allow people necessarily to sign up online. Sometimes we do it by mail, but we had a period where we were out, and so they possibly came in when we were out. So they were more than welcome to come pick one up.
I think something I have to look at. I don't know how we, last fall, we were on to work with it. I think the Methodist churches, maybe.
Are you going to be at the meeting tomorrow?
I'm sorry.
Are you going to be at the commissioner meeting tomorrow?
I'm not sure what that-
Stop it and see me. We'll maybe work things out through what the Methodist Church was doing. Because I can figure out what they were doing, and maybe we can expand that into the Lions Club too. So I might mention that there's also a little blurb running in the newspaper about stopping by City Hall to get a welcome packet if you didn't get one. And Jason Patton has been working on My Local Life website, and he also has that information on there. So try to let people know they can stop by City Hall to get a welcome packet.
in this world of all this communication we have, we still do not communicate. That's the number one fault of everybody. Okay, well, let's move on to new business. We have the hazard mitigation adoption, we're at resolution 2021-3, and that is the same thing as we've had for years with them up there, and so we just need approval of that.
So moved.
It's been moved by Amanda. Second by Larry, all in favor? Approved. Yeah, this is with it's just a standard form that we've done for quite a few years. Yeah, I'll probably need to vote individually, so Cale? Yes. Amanda?
Yes.
Derek?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to skip this next one because I think we'll be on it for a little bit. Let's get these other ones done. The Adam Brown budget engagement letter. Everybody's seen that?
And then Lila wanted me to let you guys know that they would charge $1,625 to prepare the budget.
How much?
$1,625.
Okay. Been moved by Amanda to approve the budget of $1,625 for the Adams and Brown. Second by Cale, all in favor? Approved. Okay, the CIC support agreement. Okay.
These are the guys that work on the servers, right?
That's in the
Computer
software.
information.
I'll move to. Is that a yearly?
It's got to be
It's
yearly.
annual.
It's got to be yearly. June 1st to May 31st, yeah. So, okay, it's been moved by Cale, second by Amanda, all in favor? Approved. Fireworks license application.
Is that Gary's auto body stuff there? Yeah, 108 Washington.
That's Gary Lilly,
Yeah.
but he's going to have it in there at the end.
Yeah.
And then I got one late this afternoon as well.
Oh, okay.
I'll show that one to you.
He'll do it at Gary's auto body?
Yeah, they did it out of that.
Brother.
But it's Gary Lilly doing it out of that. Okay, this other one is the, what do they always call that?
Melanie May.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, that is, Milne's Mayhem. Travis and Jennifer's kids always have theirs down there. And so, do I hear a motion to approve both these fireworks licenses? Moved by Cale, second by Larry, all in favor? Approved. Okay, we got a chicken permit.
It's a renewal.
It's just a renewal from Kim Stryker.
Second.
Moved by Amanda, second by Cale, all in favor? Okay, now we're going to go back up to the Empire Motel property proposal. We sent that out for everybody to read.
I guess I would like to go into executive session to discuss that by the justification to discuss data relating to financial affairs and trade secrets of corporations, partnerships, trusts, and individual proprietorships. So, we don't have that their business plan, but we can hold off to the end of the meeting for that. If we want to skip forward and come back to that.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's do that executive session at the end of the meeting then and go ahead and get the rest of this done. So old business, we'll go to property cleanup.
Pictures were forwarded to Lauren. I think she's working on.
I
properties.
Yeah, so, okay, I'm actually emailing documents to Jen Blair right now. I had sent out an email, a reply all to the agenda, with 6 photos that JR had sent, and I have, the first property is 417 East Jackson. It is, I brought paper copies because I know Scott doesn't do this. I believe this falls within the definition of a property that is uninhabitable and should be condemned. If you take a look at the first photo, which is this one, it's just 3 set of photos, you can see there are broken windows, and there's broken windows up in the upper area, broken windows on the side, the roof there's shingles missing, and I don't know what other roofing materials are missing. If you move on to the second photo, a good portion of the roof is missing, also a good portion of the side of the building is missing. There's just trash and debris and decay in the fence in the building and in the back. In the third photo, it's just an overall picture, and I just don't think that this is a habitable.
The hole in the roof is the nail of the coffin to me, I think. I mean, it's obviously.
Well, wasn't there a fire there too? And that's why that siding go off there.
Can you tell, like, on the east side of that property, there is most definitely, yes, right?
Yeah, there's a hole in there.
There's a hole.
And the windows are knocked out. But then I think there was a fire there, and that's why the sidings, they had a fire there. And some of that siding melted and came down, so all that siding fur up in there came down. And this is just what it's hung on.
How long has it been vacant?
Oh,
Not very long.
Not very long.
Strangely enough, not very long. There was someone in there that had utilities.
With broken windows and probably a hole in the roof. But broken windows and a hole in the roof.
I think by definition, if you take a look, my computer's taking care of the little ordinances, but if you have them, I sent it to you. It's Chapter 4, Article 7, and the definition, give me just one moment to get there.
From Jackson? Okay.
It's when the governing body has found that there exists within the corporate limits of the city structures which are unfit for human use or habitation because of dilapidation, defects, increasing hazards of fire or accidents, structural defects, or other conditions which render such structures unsafe, unsanitary, or otherwise inimical to the general welfare of the city, or conditions which provide a general blight upon the neighborhood or surrounding properties. It is hereby deemed necessary by the government body to require or cause the repair, closing, or demolition or removal of such structures as provided in this article. I believe that this house fits that definition. Pursuant to 4704, procedure, whenever a petition is filed with the enforcing officer by at least 5 residents charging that any structure, or the enforcing officer on his or own motion that any structure is dangerous, unsafe, or unfit for human habitation, he or she shall, if his or her preliminary investigation discloses the basis for such charges, report the findings to the governing body. 705 discusses adopting a resolution fixing a time, and if you agree with that, upon receiving that report, that the governing body shall adopt by a resolution fix a time and place which the owner's agent, any lien holder of record, or any occupant of the structure may appear and show cause why the structure should not be condemned or ordered repaired or demolished. And ordered repaired or demolished. And I have prepared, I'm emailing it to Jen because I prepared them before the resolution 2021-3, so I've printed it as 2021-3, but it is actually, will be 2021-4 for this property. I am asking for a resolution. The hearing pursuant to 4-707, is actually in front of the governing body. If after notice and hearing, the governing body determines that the structure is under consideration and is dangerous, unsafe, or unfit. And so I am asking the council to approve resolution number 2021-4, resolution of the city of St. Francis, Kansas, fixing time and place for hearing for owner's agent, any lien holder of record, and any occupant to appear and show cause why structure should not be condemned and ordered repaired or demolished. And I have put that in the July 26th. I've asked to schedule it so we don't have to do a separate meeting, just schedule it in the July 26th meeting, the second meeting in July. It requires publication for 2 weeks. I've emailed the paper and told them if the resolutions get approved tonight, I need to make this week's paper, next week's paper. The hearing date has to be not less than 30 days. Next week's paper puts the publication at the 24th of June. 30 days puts me at the 24th of July. Our meeting is on the 26th of July, so I'd like to set the hearing for this property on the 26th of July at our meeting.
It's been moved by Amanda and seconded by Derek. Everybody in favor?
We need a roll call vote.
Roll call. Yes. Caleb? Amanda? Derek? Derek? Okay.
All right. Thank you. I will get that email to Jen, and we will have Scott sign at the end, just because my numbering was off. If you'll go to the next set of 3 pictures, Scott, I have some for you. If you'll go to the next set, this is at 118 West Emerson. We have this lovely property here, which has been uninhabited for at least 5 years. It was sold at the tax sale a few years ago for, I believe what they said the paper was $850, and the condition of the premises has not really improved in that time. I guess they turned on some lights, and I'm not sure what else. If you look at the first picture, you'll notice that in addition to the guttering and supports falling off, the front part of the roof seems to be becoming detached from the rest of the roof. There are issues over here on the siding. There are broken windows. The next picture continues. The house is generally in disrepair. And if you take a look at the back of the house, it is also overgrown. It's overgrown, it's dilapidated, and it is not fit. I would also mention that the weeds are currently so tall that you cannot see the water meter.
These are a different issue than that, actually.
It is a different issue. It is a different issue, but since we're discussing the property, I figured I might as well bring that up. I will send a letter for that, but I am asking...
Sharon, what's your thoughts on this property? I know my stance on it.
It's been about, I think it's been actually been 19 years since it was occupied. Not that that's relevant to the actual condition of it. Structurally, it doesn't have the fire damage either. Obviously, the structure's been in disrepair for a lot of years. Without an actual inspection, I'm not sure it could actually be condemned. However, it is highly dilapidated. I mean, it's every corner of it, every side of it. Something is wrong. Could it be brought into compliance? Potentially. But I don't know, without further inspection, there's a lot of things
Talking about this one.
Well, I think that's a defense that they could bring. I mean, the hearing, I'm not asking the council to condemn it at the moment. I am asking the council to set a hearing for them to bring forth an argument why it should not be condemned. Because
Again, I think that the other one is obvious with it.
This one is
external.
obvious.
Both of these could be brought back to life.
What's that?
Both of these houses could be brought back to life.
one of the things for Article 7, though, is that it could be it could be demolished. We could require it to be demolished. And I don't know that the city would want to do that. I will say about this property, the definition is whether or not it is inhabitable. And in having seen the property, I don't know that it is in its current state inhabitable.
I agree.
And so by definition,
Until things are done, I mean, look at it, it's got
I
to
mean, it might be inhabitable more so than the other one with the hole in the roof and broken windows,
Right.
but at what point is it,
but the
you can live
But I
in
don't
a
know
house
that
and
the
be-
approach couldn't be the same, because the other property, like Scott said, it could be repaired, extensive repairs, but it could be repaired, there's bones there. You know, so it starts with, it is uninhabitable, it is condemnable in its current state. What is your proposal to do something about that? And I think that if we go straight to court, in the past we've done this in different ways, and she's taken a little bit different approach on that. I don't think that's wrong, and taking to court. These things are beyond the knock on the door kind of thing of the owner and say, hey, are you going to do something? But these are quite a ways gone, both of them. So,
and I don't take this lightly. I spent a good portion of the day looking into this matter for these properties because I did get out 2 other property cleanup letters today and was going through other things. I mean, I do not propose this lightly, but in looking, I mean,
These have been on the city's cleanup. I mean, there have been some.
right. I mean,
Vendors, I mean, they're
it's been uninhabited for 19. I mean, it has been in a dilapidated condition for years. I mean, I live, in full candor, I live 2 houses away from this property, and I have seen in 5 years it has only gotten worse because there is nothing done to it. And so, I mean, the definition of a property that may be condemned is unfit for human use or habitation because of dilapidation, defects increasing the hazards of fire or accidents or structural defects or other conditions which render such structures unsafe, unsanitary, otherwise inimical.
I think we're good on both.
I think it's time to force our hand, because that's what we need to do, because we could just beat around the bush for a lot of years on some of these properties and nothing ever happens.
And like I said, I don't take it lightly, but I have here what was Resolution 2021-4, but it's actually going to be Resolution 2021-5 for the property of 118 West Emerson Street. So if the council would approve that, I will get those.
Okay, moved by Amanda, second by Dara, all in favor, no, we got a vote. Cale?
Yes.
Dara?
Yes.
Larry? Okay, good.
Okay. On property cleanup, I sent a letter to Kelly Lambie was served today, the property on North Quincy. He had taken steps to clean it over the weekend. There is that, the main concern, I guess, for me is the truck that had no back end just halfway in the middle of the street. That has been pulled at least onto his lot. I don't know if we want to consider that compliance or not. I mean, it is on his property. It's still unsightly. I don't know where we want to draw that line. So, Jared, if you want to, he called me after he got served and said, have you even been by my house? Have you even been by our place today? And I said, no, I have not. He said, well, drive by. And so I drove by, and he was outside, and we talked. So we talked on the phone, and then we talked again, actually, on my way here. And it is much better than the photos, but
The problem is,
that it,
cleans it up, and then a couple months
Right.
down the road, it's the same way. And that was our whole discussion here 6-8 months ago. It was like, you need to be warned, this is your final warning. The
Right.
next time it happens,
which
we're
it
going to
says
be
in
fine.
bold letters, final notice. And I was actually reading the code, and if you're obstructing traffic, it is a penalty of up to $100 per day. It is each day that violation is there is a new violation in the code. And so I did it not only under Chapter 8, Article 2A, I also did it under Chapter 13, Code Sections 13110, 13210, 13601, and 13701, which is hazardous debris on sidewalk, blocking sidewalk, encroaching on alleyways, or
To give you the inoperable or an unlicensed vehicle on the street, is that included in there? Because that's, one of the primary concerns is the inventory on the street, meaning things he's working on, things that don't have a motor in it, this, that. I mean,
Right.
non-operational or non-licensed vehicles on the street does violate the
Even
code.
like, now that the one vehicle's been moved off the street,
Understanding that's
Let that-
worst case that it's all an issue because it rotates.
Right.
within there. So I think we need to cover
get the
those.
stuff off the street, even if it's white, as far as having.
is that in the traffic code that we adopted?
Inoperable vehicle, it's in the, I'll have to look it up,
Okay.
but it's health and welfare, I believe it is. I think that might be where it's at. It's been so long since I looked it up.
Okay.
Actually, that might be traffic, because that fits in.
See, I looked in 14 and I could not find it.
There is one in there,
In
about
chapter-
inoperable and unlicensed vehicle on the street, which is the
I have-
majority of what's there.
I have abandoned motor vehicles on public property, but I didn't see in chapter 14.
I'll look it up.
Okay, if you can find it, 'cause I spent about an hour today on this.
I'll find it. We utilize that as well.
Yeah, because there's something in there somewhere, I don't know where it's at either, but it's where they have not been tagged, been
Inoperable, like flat tires or no tags.
been sitting there and have not been tagged.
Uninsured, all that stuff. Any one of them fits the criteria.
It's in there somewhere.
There's multiple criteria.
Yeah.
But well, yeah, I mean,
Multiple
yeah.
criteria, yeah.
But again, the one item, which is the greatest eyesore, is only part of it. The inventory moves around and shifts here and there.
Right, but I mean, the one thing that was the eyesore, I mean, that was beyond just, that was into the street. I mean, that was interrupting, not just,
That's the concerns I had from people is, you've got a frame sitting on the street, what if somebody doesn't see it and has an accident? It was a concern. for sure.
right.
And it's obviously not operational if it's sitting on the frame on the street.
And the stuff that's on the sidewalks and everywhere else.
Yeah.
On our sidewalks.
Right. I mean, there's also, junk motor vehicles on private property. There's
There's lights, there's all kinds of things.
right. I mean, to be honest, there's probably 7 code sections I could
Yeah. But I think
throw a stone and hit one.
we've been giving warnings and hang that on here.
Right, and the notice says, the letter that I provided said, you've been provided multiple notices of the foregoing issues throughout the years, and each time the issue is temporarily resolved, the conditions return until you receive another notice and the cycle repeats. You have received enough notices that you are fully aware it is a violation of the code of the City of St. Francis to have hazardous, dangerous, unsightly conditions exist on or around structures located on the premises as a result of, etc. Accordingly, this is your final notice of such violations. Please be advised that should these conditions occur again, the city will immediately commence prosecution under Section 82A10 and/or abatement of conditions by the city pursuant to appropriate code section, with the costs thereof being assessed against the property. And so, I mean, I warned him that this has been a cycle for years, and this is, better. I mean, as part of it, we've got court cases from 2015 on this, 2016 on, I mean, it's an ongoing matter. So, it appears to be mostly resolved for now. So we'll see how that goes. But as far as we are there, that was served on him today. That's the return code he was talking about. I have a CC copy. This is for Lila, but I'm going to give it to Jen. And then CC copy for JR. Of what was served. Just so that way they know, because Lila will get it. If it goes to court, Lila will get it, and that and JR will be in there testifying. The last thing I have on property cleanup, which is We attempted service again today on Tommy Colson via certified mail. Until I get a signature, I can't move forward in court. We tried again. I don't know. The last letter never came back to us, but was never signed for either. So we're going to try again. And that's all I have on property cleanup.
Okay, anybody have anything else on property cleanup?
Anything on property
I
cleanup?
don't think so. No, I did make contact with the one we were supposed to have a court date with on Webster Street. I did actually talk to them. They were working on it. I told them they had it done by the court date of June 24th, whatever that Thursday is.
Yeah, June 24th at 1:30.
If it was not, we would not.
Right.
What was that?
June 24th at 1:30, and you will be there. I don't need to have you served with a summons. Okay.
Did these letters go out?
Okay, well, let's move on to the project spending then.
I think this was taken off of project spending, the firework ordinance. My office received a call today from Jen Milne about the fireworks. She had brought it up last year, and I brought it to council. It went on project spending for a while, and then now it's off. I see that it's off, but since she called our office today, I thought I would bring it up again. Jennifer Milne called and wanted to know if there was any chance of having a discussion with the city council regarding extending time in the evening to shoot off fireworks. She mentioned that she discussed the issue with me last year. She felt that the time should be extended past 10 p.m. for Friday, July 2nd, and Saturday, July 3rd, as it was a weekend and 4th of July fell on a Sunday. The conversation she approached me with last year was that I believe on the 4th of July, fireworks are permitted till midnight, and every other night it's only until 10. However, with the 4th of July falling on a Sunday this year, and most people have to work on the following Monday, she was thinking that perhaps the city, may be agreeable to modifying the ordinance so that way the later time would occur on a weekend rather than on a weekday, and so that way when the 4th of July falls in the middle of the week going forward, that it's not going off until midnight on a work night. It's the weekend immediately preceding the 4th of July, the Friday and Saturday immediately preceding the 4th of July, be extended till midnight. And then the 4th of July be until, perhaps, either kept until midnight or maybe till 11. So, I mean, I guess I don't know where the council falls on that, but...
Well, I think we took it off if we all felt like we leave this the way it was. It's been that way for years and years. Why change it? If we change it now, we change it next year, we change it the following year. We keep changing it, we keep changing it. To me, we leave it right where it's at. So it's up to the council, but I think we leave it alone. It just opens that can of worms when you start changing it.
So the only night it's midnight is 4th.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's always been that way.
right, and it has been that way, but I think the conversation was that, you know, the 4th I think is going to be observed on the 5th this year, so most offices will be closed, but when it falls in the middle of the week, it's still going off till midnight when people have to work the next day. And
Almost all people have known that
right.
existence.
Right, and I'm not making an argument for or against. I'm just relating.
Well, and I think, those concerns need to come to the council as opposed to our legal representation. You know what I mean? You should direct them to us.
Okay,
as opposed to...
I will let her know that if she would like to discuss it with the council, that she can get on the agenda, or she should get on the agenda. And I mean, I don't know how much support this has. I've only had conversation. I've had that conversation with a couple people on it, largely because I think.
And none of us have heard a thing.
Okay.
So
Well, and I'm never here for the 4th of July, so I don't have a dog in the race. Because I just can't pick a steamboat every year. But I wanted, it was brought to me as a city matter. I thought I'd bring it to the council. I will let her know that she needs to either contact a council member or contact Lila about getting on the agenda.
Right, more important, what have you found out about the crossovers?
If you will direct your attention to the email I sent earlier. I included in my attachments were a letter from the Jeter Law Firm and copies of the easements and the deeds. So if you will...
You came in late this afternoon.
I clicked reply all to Lila's minutes and agenda. And so the subject will be minutes and agenda, and it's all of the pictures that I was discussing, a link to the ordinances I was discussing, and this letter from Jeter Firm, which is not loading on my computer for some reason, so give me a second to pull it up on my phone, please.
Is everyone's loading slow? Yeah.
It's incredibly slow.
So I think we need one of those, like a booster.
We have one back, but I wonder if we have it.
So you put a booster in since we got the broadband? Okay.
Even in the back here, but it's trying to pick up there in the
I was going to say, I know we had to have one before.
Where are we supposed to be getting here? Oh, wow. 1.3 megabit download speed. Every week. Don't we have fiber here?
We do, but you know the routers and stuff's proprietary.
Yeah. Upload speed though is 8 megabit. So something is slowed down download speed.
Well, you're speaking in terms that I'm just one of those people that just take the word.
Yeah, it's not normal.
Well, we had somebody here doing some work.
I mean, I guess, I don't know, I'm a little frustrated, like, with where we're at with this, because I don't feel like we've moved anywhere.
Have you seen the letter?
Yes, I have seen
Okay.
it. Yeah. I mean, I feel like,
We've been there before.
and I feel like where I got us was about where, like, and I'm not the title person, but, you know, I've done a lot of legwork on where we're at, and I feel like we're at the same spot, but we need to know who, like, ownership, and that's what our initial...
Right, and so what he has stated is that, so the state of Kansas received a easement of 100 feet of width. Based on what he is seeing, the highway is about 50 feet in width. So there's an additional possibly 25 feet on either side. We don't know exactly. And so what he is suggesting the easiest thing to do would be is to contact, because we don't have anything that tells us what the legal description of that access road or of that frontage road is. And so what he's suggesting we do is to hire a survey company to either, one, determine what the legal of the frontage road is, or two, determine what the legal of the state's easement is. Because if they map out, we hire a survey company or an engineering company, and they actually map out what the state's easement is pursuant to that legal description in the deed, which is also attached.
Which is actually not an easement, actually gives title everything to that property. If I remember correctly. You go back here.
If you can get it.
Usually I'm the one that has problems with everything. But I mean, in that from Benjamin Foster, going back in the 30s, it states that they grant, bargain, sell, and convey into the party of the second part forever all of their right, title, and interest in the following described real estate.
They're giving
Okay.
all of their title, and then it references down below that, and they're giving an easement, but they are giving all of their interest. To me, they have deeded that over to the state.
Right, but we still don't know if that 100 feet includes the access road.
Which I had that tentatively mapped out from the mapping company in the county, and it clearly shows that it possibly can, obviously from 1930 to 2021, like, technology's a little bit different, but it does actually, from what they initially...
Can you email that to me?
I can.
Okay, because I don't think I have that.
And then there was a condemnation proceeding in the 50s, whereby that's when they extended it to the 4-lane. It used to just be a 2-lane highway from the 30s to the 50s, and then they did a condemnation to the south to extend that to a 4-lane highway.
Okay. So we will, I mean, we can, if you have that, we will go, I mean...
I can send that, and I'd be more than happy to talk to whoever's...
Michael Baxter?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I've obviously...
And I have the survey drawings of the actual improvement, when they did the improvement, that includes that teardrop, and there's still state markers within that area. I mean, it actually is pretty clearly marked by that, by that drawing, which I don't know that we've ever included in this
I don't think
discussion.
we have, no.
But they moved
If
water
you,
lines, they did all kinds of things.
if you would send that to me, and if you would send me what you have, I will send it on to Mr. Baxter, and I will give...
Details than what we're...
I will send it on to Mr. Baxter, and I will have him coordinate with you, because, and I'll give him, do you want me to give him your cell phone or your work phone? Okay. I will give him your contact information and ask, and say, let him know that,
Because I think
because you did a lot of legwork on this.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, I don't think that I don't know that I have everything on it. I think you...
I've tried to, yeah, I have...
Yeah, I know you do.
I have a stack, but I also know, like, some of the stuff that, like, the Benton Street approach and that kind of stuff, like, there is a gap from where Parkville Addition was actually platted and where the highway comes through, there is an actual chunk of property that was never platted in between the highway
Right.
and that. And so I think some of those easements where it says it extends the alley, extends from, like, I'm thinking of like where Park Hill is, they used to own that property to where Holly Ridge, but there was lots and lots, and then this other, and I think those alley easements are extending to get to the access road. I don't think the access road is ever any part of the city property, and some of that is just like utility easements,
Right. So I will, if you will send me that document and Jared will send me the document he has, I will forward them to Mr. Baxter and have him get in touch with you, because I don't have those drawings. So that may be what he needs, and I will send that on to him, and then I will hopefully...
Contact me, because I've got a lot of information and legwork that I've put into it, so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. That sounds great. Okay.
Yeah, because
And this concludes the attorney report.
when we went down to A's, Amanda had enough stuff put together, Amanda and I went down there. They were a little scared when we got done with them, and because then all of a sudden, all they could just say, your attorney needs to talk to our attorney. They knew we had information that they didn't think we had.
Okay.
So,
Perfect. I will have him get in touch with you.
yeah.
Perfect.
Lila gave me a couple of things for projects pending to
Okay.
one, she said you guys need to pick a date and time for the budget workshop during the week of July 28th, or excuse me, June 28th to July 2nd.
Oh, I'm sorry. 28th is going to be our next meeting. So in between there, so the 29th, 30th. everybody? Okay, that's fine on that then.
Tuesday at 7?
Yeah, Tuesday, the 20 minutes.
And then she said to get signatures and then have you sign the papers for the special meeting.
Yeah. That's Thursday at 7 o'clock. That's the band show.
What have you got?
Great Kite. Great Kite's going to be in here. And he's just going to go over, he wants to look at the projects and stuff, seating area and that stuff.
This Thursday?
Yeah.
7 o'clock, is that right?
Yes, 7 o'clock.
At the band show?
Yes. He's coming in for a long night weekend and stuff.
Kayla, you can pass that on around.
Yes, I missed that.
We will try to get on Washington State litigation. I'll try to get everybody. I'd like to get
Yeah.
Do you think it will take long enough break for me to put those quick?
What's that?
Those resolutions?
I have the resolutions sent to Jen. JR, did you hear from Cody? I should have asked him while he was here about that unlicensed, on North on Scott.
That one is a little bit touchy for me, just because it's operable. I mean,
It's not licensed.
it would be classified as like a golf cart, UTV, like, are we going to go after other people that are,
Those actually can't be licensed.
Yeah, but
They're, by definition, they're
they can't, no, they cannot, and that's where I'm like, if you go after that, then you're going to have to go after everybody on the golf
Can
cart.
that not be licensed?
It cannot. It doesn't fit the criteria. So we have the, why it has an exclusion, because somebody brought those in and kind of tried to sell it right at the time we was doing golf carts and UTVs, is it? I can't remember. By definition, those don't fit, as weird as that sounds. And I don't remember why there was an exclusion on those. But
well, can't they still do the same as the golf carts and stuff?
But if you're going to go after that one, then you need to go after everybody else in town that's driving golf carts and.
without the tag.
What's the,
Without the
what's
tag, but
the
everybody-
age
everybody in
that
town that's
people
You
get?
must have a driver's license, so there's a lot of that going on.
And
And I think that's probably a conversation with Cody on the small things.
Yeah.
He was just talking about that, because there's a lot of underage people driving the golf carts that do or don't have the tag on them. I think there's, like he mentioned, there's a little bit of a free-for-all.
And that's
Some
something,
things, and that's one of them.
We've got that in there, but they got to get the tag.
Yes.
And
Insurance tag, valid driver's license, it's literally,
The other day, there was a golf cart being driven. There was an adult in the passenger seat, and I cannot imagine the driver was any older than 8 years old.
And they're on the main street, we have certain streets that they can't be on, and I think that's another PR, get the word out there that, hey, remember guys, you have to get it tagged, you have to get insurance, like you have to have a valid driver's license, you can't be on College Street or Washington Street, like there's certain streets that we prohibit them just because of heavy traffic.
cross.
Should I go Facebook Live? Ordinances with Amanda.
But I think
On today's episode of Ordinances with Amanda, golf cart.
Well, I think that's part of
Yeah.
getting it out there, reminding
Right.
people that, hey, you can't do this, and then Cody can say, everyone doesn't have to, and everyone doesn't have to, and it's just getting the word out. I don't think you get the word out.
My mom, when I was
opening her statement,
I've just seen something.
it's just been sitting there, but it's operable. Like, it's just, it's not like it's an inoperable
I think
vehicle, it's a,
I think we could treat that just like the golf carts and the UTVs and all that stuff, but they have to have.
But if you come down on them, you need to come down on them.
Right,
If
we
it's
gotta come
not
down on
started,
them.
You gotta,
I don't think that's a bad thing.
Those could be, it has something to do with the
There's something
control or
about-
something.
there's something about those
Limitation
little-
on those, it's really bizarre.
lifeguard utility things.
Yeah.
There is
But
something.
you know what's really strange when you read Article 7, which I haven't read it, but I was just looking at the title, ATV worksite, utility vehicles, golf carts, and micro utility trucks.
Oh,
Because that's not really
yeah.
taggable, and so
Yeah,
that it's more of the, we've got golf carts, UTVs, like, if we crack down on that one, we've got to start training on everybody that's not licensed for golf carts, like, there's, you have to have it tagged, you have to have it insured, you have to have a valid driver's license, you can't be on Washington or College Street, I mean, there's a lot.
On the street though, the golf cart?
But I think if you come down on that one, you have to figure out on all of the old spectrum.
Oh, yeah, if you park them on the street, yeah.
Oh, no,
But
it's
no, the
it's
ones that are
not
driving around
tagging
that
it
don't
in.
have the tag on,
Oh, yeah. but
Going up
yeah,
Washington.
yeah, park on the street.
then they shouldn't.
It's been parked there for months.
But it's still, it's operable,
Yeah.
and it's not an actual vehicle.
Yeah, it's not
It's a golf cart
Licensable.
type
Yeah.
thing, and so, I just, there's a lot. and I
They
go
can park
talking
it out
about
the back behind you.
But if he's trying to sell it, you're not gonna get anybody to see it back behind you.
Yeah, but our city streets aren't a marketplace either.
No. We had somebody park 3 cars on Main Street one time and put for sale signs in them on Main Street. And left them set. Yeah. For about a week, and then we told them we had to move them.
So am I sending a letter on the purple truck? On the purple vodka truck?
I would not, I think that's a place to have a conversation with Cody as far as enforcing, getting the word out as far as this is what you have to do to get this tag. If you go through the proper channels, getting this tag on it and have it insured, then
We need to have Cody go talk to him about. It is sitting on a street. It needs to have insurance, and it needs to have that little sticker on it.
but if he's gonna go after that one, then he needs to go after every other.
Yeah.
Other one, and like I said, they're getting more and more up and down Main Street, parked in front of the grocery store, True Value, wherever, like, there's certain streets that they're supposed to be on, and I think if that's what we think
Yeah, I see.
we need to enforce, then we tell Cody, hey, you know, this is getting abused, maybe we need to bring it in and.
No, it's just, they got all be treated the same.
Yeah.
I think they all need to be treated the same.
I think it's getting a little bit lax and a little bit abused, and maybe we just bring it in a little bit for everybody.
Okay, anything else there? Move on to the street project. You got more information there?
So we have the pre-construction meeting the 9th of June. We have the inspector, Miller and Associates, and McCormick Excavation there to just talk about timeline, traffic control. Brian is going to be the contractor doing the concrete work, the pre-work. They originally were going to start this week. They're now starting June 21st. And they'll do a lot of the pre-work before they can do the other stuff. Some of the tree removal, they're still figuring that part of it out. But June 21st, we should see it in town starting working on the concrete stuff.
You said June 21st?
Week from today.
And we did discuss the same things that came up at that last meeting about no more than 2 consecutive blocks, access maintained beginning and end of the day, so nobody's blocked out of their area. Yes, there will be headaches, but they're used to dealing with it.
Either that or we don't fix it.
Exactly.
You gotta block it off.
I don't think next week is like to be anything.
You mean I can't drive on it while you're...
I asked them if they've filed a patent for that hover car.
Yes. I have some.
Okay, building permits.
There's only one on here. I think quite a few.
And I have 4.
There's only one on there. Oh, they just didn't get scanned, and that's not a problem.
Do you want to
Just pass them.
Okay.
That's fine.
time I went, I taught engineering on there, so you get two different limits for running concrete in the building, or? It's just like,
It was just after a thought, you didn't have it on there, it's like,
that's when I was like, wait a minute, I just found this one, and I'm like,
originally, I think
one is
we were
concrete, one is buildings, and I'm like,
not normal.
that's
Answer your
right.
question.
Yes, I was like, we charge them twice.
I usually try to keep him in mind, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but when it's after the fact, you don't.
Oh, and that's true. I
I'd like
was,
to make it a little more difficult.
yeah, I was a little confused when I was writing these down. I'm like, what did I miss here? Really? Have you spoken to the city super ahead of time just to? Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. We have a pros and cons.
I didn't even notice that. I was just confused with the camera.
Do I hear a motion to approve the building permits? Been moved by Cale, second by Derek, all in favor? Approved. Superintendent report.
Okay, July's going to be a really busy month. Everything is basically happening at the same time. The boiler at the plant is going to be installed in July, beginning in July. Board Electric, the end of July. And of course, all our street work is going to be during the same time. So everybody's scheduled this work at the same time. None of them will actually conflict with the other than it's having three different contractors in town. In Hathaway, the architect was in town June 9th. They spent all day at the theater going through that, measuring, looking at the compliance issues with ADA and all of the other things that have been discussed as far as getting a work list for the theater. One of the, I guess, pleasant surprises in that survey of that was that most of the electric is actually in pretty good shape and it's in conduit. So what was looked at as possibly the worst or the biggest problem with the structure doesn't exist, at least in the form that we had feared it would. So the electric on it appears to be workable with what's there and shouldn't be a big issue bringing that to code. That's just huge compared to having to redo the whole plant. The scope of the work we're having to look at still goes far into other projects, be it the ceiling, the acoustics. There's still a lot of things that need to be addressed, but it was a pleasant surprise to find that the electrical running front to back, supplying the ACs, everything up to the front was pretty good. Plumbing, for the most part, is adequate. It's just a matter of figuring out where some of the things are at, because it's all built around that stuff. They did not give a timeline on when they would provide us that extended work list for the thing. They were basically just gathering information that's needed. I did attend the commissioner meeting, the last commissioner meeting, whatever that was. Talked to him about having the county spray the weeds. Since then, I think DJ has covered possibly everything except the railroad ideas, and he may have gotten to that by now. You can certainly see progress on the islands. The one thing I would caution is if the weeds truly die, there will be bare ground, because the kochia weeds have really taken over in areas. But it does seem to be he was able to cover so much area so quickly compared to what we can do. So I think that's going to be a pretty good deal. He just had it at several $100s per application. We was a little bit under on the amount of area that I was having him do. So we're just going to base it on moisture, how effective it's being. But it's great having that resource to be able to have the county weed department deal with our larger dryland areas. So at the last meeting, I brought up and with Sunflower the issue with the power billing during the time of excessive cost. And I'd suggest the last one, I still don't really believe we're being compensated properly for what our headache was for doing the generating during the period of time being for emergency. Part of the stipulation that I mentioned for the city to accept the $19,000 and change to credit the city is that they have us removed from SPP's emergency or any call list of any kind, basically stating it won't be part of the contract. It's our generation for when the lights go out or when we would choose to for some other extraordinary reason, which at this point is just when the power goes out on Sunflower. That's the only time we want to use that. I received an email that has been removed from SPP, so they no longer list St. Francis as a potential call for any emergency generation. I'd like to reiterate that puts us in the position that if we are called and asked, we can say no, or we can set a price. Because in that circumstance, it wouldn't have been worth 4 or 5 times what we was paid for the simple fact that our resources were being utilized to do something that we needed to be doing other things. It just wasn't. It just didn't fit. So my opinion is the issue's resolved. It won't happen again. And therefore, I think we should just go with the credit. We have already been credited that amount on our bill, what was stated before, so I think we move on in that issue. Miller & Associates is still working on a water control system. What that is just the automated system that runs the wells, the booster stations at the reservoir, and monitors the tank for pressure. That system's right at 20 years old. We've been knowing we need one, but we're going to have them run a spec so we can actually get pricing of comparable systems to that. I have a proposal from Nextech, and we're doing a surveillance system for the recycle area. Actually, had him doing on the power plant as well. Bear with me just a minute. Okay, so for an area that would cover all of the inside, the front entry, and the compost area, which is an area I want to cover just because we get just junk dumps there frequently. I mean, I'd much rather deter it, but if people are going to do it, I'd rather catch them. So this has all internal cameras with the main system there and shooting both directions outside. So if there's any other thing being dumped, being done wrong up there, we should be able to see it, and also in the compost area. For this, they gave a estimated price to purchase. Now, they'll do a purchase or a lease agreement. The purchase price on it is $11,325.65. They'll also do a 60-month plan, or 36, at a given monthly rate, where at the end of that time you own it. You pay the same thing. At the end of the time, you own it. The good thing about the service plan is any problems you have, they take care of it. They just, if there's a camera goes out or anything happens to it during that time, they service it. They can monitor it from afar and see what's wrong with it. It might seem like a lot, but we have a lot of extra cost that goes into cleaning up after people up there, just general dumps. I mean, it's just kind of we need to be able to watch that. The monthly cost on a 60-month agreement for that is $275. If you do the math on that, it's $2,000 or $3,000 more. But again, you own it at the end, plus you've had the service during the period of time. So I am not interested in maintaining a surveillance system, that's not my thing. This is the same thing that the county does with all of their facilities, being the EMS, courthouse, and whatnot, and they've had real good luck with them.
How are you going to enforce it?
Enforce what?
Well, if you catch somebody, then what do you do?
You identify them. If they littered, they get a citation for littering. If you just have people, again, deterring it is the primary thing. We're going to put up signs that it's there.
Signs up there now.
But now you're going to know who's actually doing it. Instead of please don't leave the styrofoam, now you know who left the styrofoam. It's littering. It doesn't belong there. So.
I'm not arguing with that.
No, I get what you're saying.
Enforcement of it, I have a hard time seeing it.
Yeah.
They get fined.
And what, I guess I'm not quite following that. If it's
Well-
not allowed, it's the same as littering.
It's just going to take a few people of getting a
I think
citation or a
humiliation
warning.
therapy's probably
Put
going
up
to
a
be
sign that says,
pretty good.
now if you leave styrofoam, we know who you are. You can get fined
Under
for littering.
surveillance, and,
I think just under surveillance.
well, and
is
even,
fine for littering.
we've had the problems with stealing of gravel and
Mhm.
that kind of stuff, is they
Right.
know that there's a camera on them, they're not, once they know that cameras are up there, it's going to deter them.
I think it's
It's not
more of a
gonna-
deterrent than it is it's going to enforce it by deterring it, or at least most of it. I think it will eliminate a good part of it by just having them up there.
Well, that's
So how long's
always
the
a-
term?
Sorry. It's always a mess there after the weekend,
Yeah.
on Mondays.
Yeah. So the 5-year is $275 a month. If you did it for 3 years, again, you own it at the end, so it's not like without
Yeah,
anything.
it's worth it to have them maintaining it too for 5 years.
At the 36 month, it's $455, and there's no money up front on the lease program on it. So I would be inclined to say do a 5-year thing on it
Yeah.
for all of that area up there, and that we hold off on the power plant. We actually do have an older system there that's fine. If this happens to be that superior to it, because we do need to monitor things down there since we don't man it anymore. But what we have has been adequate so far. So I don't, at that expense, I think I want to see how this would work.
Did we
So,
talk about parks too at one time?
with them.
Parks, as far as like the city park, where we've had problems with bathrooms and restrooms and that kind of stuff. Did we talk about that? I feel like we did, but I don't think.
We have talked
Talked
about it.
roadside.
Yeah. But see, at roadside, this one would be expandable to that area.
Will that shoot far enough across there then to pick up
Probably not.
roadside park?
No, you would, well,
That
yes,
bad
it would.
camera.
Yes, it would. No, you wouldn't have to have a wire. You could run it wirelessly to there. All you need is power there. So they're expandable, because that's what I'd said, with the trailer park and stuff be there, I'm not sure we want to go putting cameras up there, but if we did, would it be in range? And yes, it is. So I guess my recommendation would be that we go with the next text proposal at the 5-year. The money's almost the same for the 36 to the 60 month.
So what's the figures one more time?
$11,325.65. But that's,
Split over 60 months?
yes, so then that's if you bought it out. That's what you're going to pay out, and then it's a little bit more than that. Over 60 months, I think it's $3,000 more. But again, they're servicing it.
Service it, yeah.
Mhm.
That's
So what I want to do is
So
a
there's
lease program.
$275 a month?
Yep.
I'd like the motion to go with the 5-year plan.
Second.
Okay, been moved by Amanda, second by Cale, all in favor?
Can we get this on the main street for J-turns?
But at least one thing about that too, if we decide we're not getting,
Can you opt out?
we could opt out at the end of the
At the end of
term.
the term. And it is 5,000 more. I was underestimating that. I just did the math on the 60 month.
But if you pay the $11,325, how much is it a month for monitoring?
Yeah,
There's nothing.
you don't
I
have
guess there
any.
wouldn't-
You
there
don't
wouldn't be
have
any there,
anything.
that's
It's
right.
just you bought the system. They want to lease them that. No money down, and you just do the monthly payment. They service it at the end of the time. You either upgrade to something else or.
I was thinking of alarm, but that's different.
Okay. All right, and again, I do have other proposals, but I want to hold off on that. I want to see how this would work out. There's no rush on that since we're already monitored. At the recycle, we still do not have an agreement with Sunoco, which is the previous outlet for recyclables when they had the regional Recycling in Colby. We do, however, have one of their balers, and we are going to have them pick up the first load of cardboard this Friday. So we're still working on getting some kind of contract to maintain having their equipment and/or purchasing their equipment, which is a county item. But operationally, we're going to be having the first load of cardboard go directly out for that. At the very end of the day, I did get a proposal from Brock in reference to the steps. You know, we had an insurance concern come our way as far as the uneven steps. We gave a proposal. We have a single one. It's all concrete to remove the trees. I think we'd prefer to have options. Now, I want rid of the trees, just to be clear. Those things aren't safe. They put out those little things when they come down, and they're kind of a maintenance nightmare. The water system doesn't work in them anymore. However, what he did propose is all concrete with just the center step being widened out, I don't know, it's by 4 feet. I think I haven't had a chance to compare it to what's there. So I don't want to propose we accept any of that until I have a chance to talk to him and go over that in some detail. He also provided me a proposal for maintaining the Keller Pond and Riverwalk. However, I'm still talking to 2 other people. I don't think it's appropriate. We did advertise that. We've received no response. I have since talked to 3 individuals hoping to get proposals of specifically what we're looking for to maintain that: watering trees, mowing, cleaning or clearing of the trail. But yes, we do have one price on that, so we are finally moving forward a little bit on that. I was hoping to have at least one other proposal before we...
What if their proposal's over what the Keller Foundation will pay?
We have a budget, and in that budget, we, have the cash, but we also have had the use of city crew and equipment out there. So I think consideration could be given to something that's greater. But at this point, I don't. Without having proposals to compare, I don't. And I think that's important too. In talking to these individuals, it's like if we get a tremendous tree loss that covers all the trail, something extraordinary. Obviously, the city's not going to be in the position until you have to go do something in an extraordinary situation. We're kind of stepping into this thing for this maintenance agreement. So, but anyway, we are finally getting progress on that. In reference to the pool, we discussed that at the last meeting, that east side. Right before the meet, I got a hold of Quentin at Lighthouse, and he put down strap carpet for the access on that thing, which kind of brings up the next issue of there's a water line under that. That's the reason we never wanted to pour concrete on it. We have talked about that as a solution, but in talking to Quentin, and Scott has some carpet experience, as I understand it, why we wouldn't just prepare that surface and put an outdoor carpet there, either permanently or seasonally, for that reason, to control the growth of stickers. You're not putting anything permanently over a water line. It's just the right thing to do. Quentin was going to get me a price on that. He has not yet. At least currently we have what I would consider to be safe passage around there for the other meets, but hopefully we can get something on that. Last thing I have is I need 5 minutes of executive session for non-elected personnel on job performance and status.
You mean outdoor carpet, like the short green stuff? Or?
Like AstroTurf, only a lighter grade. That stuff that's inside the pool is so astronomically expensive, and the preparation for it is extreme.
You mean artificial grass?
What's that?
The artificial blade grass?
Yeah. But they make it all the way down to outdoor carpet you put on a porch. So there's mid-grades, and I wasn't aware of this till talking to Scott and Quentin, that they, we could go all the way down to something you put out just for the period of time, or to a higher grade that would leave there for extended periods.
Yeah.
I just, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, real quick, you were talking about, the out front and the steps and stuff. The foundation had kind of pulled weeds and trimmed some bushes on their side, since they're renting it. And so there was an open house for alumni this weekend. And so I pulled a few weeds when they came up, but, with new people moving into town and such, somehow we can maybe
trimmed up, discussed
Yeah,
with
just
our-
to trim it up and kind of make it look presentable, and there's a tree growing up in the middle of the, I know, it's one of those things.
I noticed it. No, it needs to be
So,
done.
I guess my only concern with out front, if we eliminate some of those walkways up, is with vehicles pulling up and pulling clear up to the curb, access for people to get to the steps.
They will be further, the wall will be further this way.
So there would be like
There will be a walkway in
and
front of
that.
vehicles, yes. That was a discussion we did have, but
Because
again.
that was my kind of concern when we wanted to eliminate some of that, was you get somebody that pulls clear up and there's not a way, they've got to walk out and around
Right.
into the street.
No,
But
we would be extending that further up so you could walk in front of vehicles to the steps, because everybody goes to the center ones if, when there's a choice.
Yeah.
And again, if there's any other input to that, I'll be talking to Brock about specifics on it. I just wasn't clear enough on what he sent to say this is what we should do.
I guess I'd be interested
Well,
in
our
whatever
biggest-
his input is.
Biggest problem out there is using that, the snow melt stuff on it. That's why it's done that way. You cannot use that stuff, period. It's stupid.
And I will say too, I hope it's okay for me to speak, but it was kind of my idea. I brought it up to JR a long time ago about limiting the 2 side steps because snow removal it's pretty hard in the winter, especially when we get big snows and the guys try to get down when they can, but they obviously have bigger fish to fry. And to remove snow from 3 sets of steps and then try to get it to pushed off has been very, very hard.
And it's worse when you have steps,
Yeah.
because you can't use a snowboard or something.
Mhm.
Very good.
But yeah, I think by eliminating some of the steps, making it a little easier to take care of and stuff, would be good, so. Any other questions for JR? Okay. Been moved by Amanda, second by Darrell, all in favor? Okay. Attorney report, do you have any more?
I did not. Like I said earlier, and that concludes the attorney report.
Okay, clerk report, do you have anything, Dan?
Just, we had a couple of bills come today that I just need to get approved to pay out of cycle. Because we ran all the checks and stuff Friday since Lila was going to be gone, so I just need to get approval to pay the St. Francis Herald $169.55 and $165 for the theater and for the city.
Those 2 bills?
Yes.
Do I hear a motion? Moved by Larry, second by Cale, all in favor, approved.
And then I will just note, since you guys approved that CIC contract, there is a check in that stack tonight to pay for the contract in the amount of $5,265. So we went ahead and made that check too, with the anticipation that you would approve the contract.
Is that it?
Yes.
Okay, do your motion to accept and file the clerk report. Moved by Amanda, second by Darrell, all in favor. Okay, well, let's do our council comments real quick. Dale, you have anything?
I don't think so.
Amanda? Right. Darrell? Larry? Okay. Well, like I said, we all know this is alumni weekend and stuff, and so hope everything goes well. As well as can be for not really being full-blown alumni weekend. Okay, well, let's go ahead and stop here, and we'll go into executive session.
Yeah,
I've got 2 different ones.
I think the second one. I think the second one.
The second one?
772.
Yep, start that one, yes.
Okay, I'll get ahold of Justin and tell him we've got to have a structured plan of what they're planning on doing on everything, and to me, they're going to have to put more more investment into it before we say we're going to go forward with that. Anything else that I would need to tell them other than a well-planned, structured plan that details everything and a drawing of everything?
Well, the burden's on them. If they come back and it's still not enough detail, you do the exact same thing with more clarity.
Okay. Okay.
So, 5 minutes executive session for JR.
Yes.
Or if you
I'll make a
give you that
motion to go into
summary, you could
executive
just have
session
it in case it
for 5
wasn't
minutes
there.
for non-elected personnel for
Job performance and
job
status.
performance and
That's how I
status.
do it. I just have it on my
Do you want-
computer for ease.
Who all involved?
Just the council in there.
Just council and mayor for 5 minutes to come out at 9:03.
Here, second by Kate.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
I got it all.
If it's not in a bag, then we'll take it if it's down. I mean, it just ain't supposed to happen. That's why we have to deal with it that way. It has to.
I just need to, any decisions made or just no decisions made. Perfect, thank you.
Okay, now we need to review the bills on ordinance 501. 1051.
So, do we really pay somebody $30 for a meal just to let their certification? I mean, that's,
So some of the kids, like, paid for 2 or 3 kids.
okay. I was like,
Yes.
one person a night, that's a little.
No, so,
Okay,
yeah,
I'm good with that, I'm just like, they want to start taking dinner.
no. No.
Have you been to McDonald's lately?
Yeah, McDonald's paid $10 for a person.
Arby's maybe, you know, like McDonald's.
I haven't been to McDonald's in 30.
I haven't been to McDonald's, but I'm like, I know, Arby's is crazy.
Yeah, Arby's, $10.
Not-
Yep. 2 people, $20.
I would expect to. I don't know that you can give them out
What's that?
Thursday night.
No, really.
It's
We're
Greg just,
required to be there.
Greg just wants to walk through and see what we're talking about, because I said we're more concerned about getting the seating done and whatever we can get done with the fountain curves. He's still concerned about the inside, all the paintings and stuff, and I understand that. I mean, that's lost art, and that's,
I think the whole thing, I mean, we talked about before, just doing the whole, here's the big picture, where do we chunk it off, and what's the most important, and
The seating's next, period. But the seating used as much as it is, that.
but I've actually had compliments on the fountains, on how it actually is not full of trouble anymore. Like, it actually, there's like 3 years to it, but like, actual people, I'm like, oh. But anyway, I mean, I would say for sure the seating, number one, and whether it's the interior or the fountain, I mean,
We have the utility, the electricity that's there is needed. You can't, I mean, it's just, it is absolutely a neat thing if it ever gets restored, but the way it's being used outside is just,
yes.
so he was going to be here for alumni anyway, so that's why we set it up for that Thursday night, because that was the only time it was going to work. Just to walk through and look at everything and stuff, and so he can see. I said, Greg, the seats are really bad.
What's that?
Yeah.
Concrete?
I just walk off the area. I don't know.
Concrete might be cheaper than.
It might be better just to block up the area. I mean, literally, I don't know. I guess we need to do something so there's not open access to it and things like that. So.
Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the bills on ordinance 1051? Been moved by Larry, second by Cale. All in favor? Approved. Your motion to adjourn.
Someone.
Oh, I didn't even make it.